Let's get to some of the thoughts and things that you're telling yourself that's actually stopping you from taking up space and what to do about them, right? So we talked about why it may be more difficult for adults with immigrant parents in the last episode to talk about their feelings, take up space, ask for what they want, and advocate for themselves, just generally taking up space. And in this episode, we are going to talk more about some of the ways to challenge some of those thoughts that come up for you when you're trying to take up space or when your inner voice is like, don't do it, and how to challenge that, how to take care of yourself a little bit more in ways that work for you. Thank you for joining us. I'm Allison Lee. I'm your host for this podcast called Empowered with Immigrant Parents, which is the whole point. I want you to feel empowered, as many adults with immigrant parents as possible, to feel empowered and know that they can do things a little differently than what they've been doing while keeping their values, their personality, their characteristics in mind, and also really do the thing that they want to do if they want to do it, which is take care of their families, right? A lot of my clients tend to, feel burnt out, feel resentful, feel the irritation coming up often because they are not able to take up space. They aren't able to take care of themselves in the way that they really want, which actually leads them to burnout and thinking that they just need so much more space from their family members that they end up thinking cutting ties is the only way to preserve the relationship, which is actually opposite of what they've been doing the whole time, which is actually wanting to care for the family and support them. What we need to do is take up space. What you need to do is to learn how to take up space in a way that works for you, that feels comfortable for you, but start taking up more space, right? Not letting our old beliefs, our old patterns, and our old thoughts stop us from doing things that we need so that we can continue to care for our loved ones in a way that works for us, in a way that works for you. So it's not about, all or nothing. You either do it or you don't, but we're going to find a middle ground, a way that you can take up some space. So let's get to it. You heard on the last episode what it's like to take up space. And when we take up space, we are telling people what we need. We're advocating for our desires or our wants, our needs. We are sharing our ideas, our thoughts, and our feelings. We aren't as hesitant to go after what we want and what we need, whatever that may be. A job, a relationship, sharing our feelings, having a conversation about something that happened that could potentially lead to a disagreement or a conversation you're not sure will go well, right? That's taking up space. It could be applying for a presentation that you really wanted to do, or a promotion, or it could be going after your dreams of this side gig, or that you want to make a main gig, but you're not doing it because you're afraid. Anything like that, right? Taking up space requires you to, 1, ask for what you want and what you need. 2, tell people what you want and what you need. 3, take actions towards what you want and what you need. And 4, remembering that you are worthy enough, you're good enough, you're good just as you are to do those things. Just like with everything else in life, communication skills, learning a new job, learning a new recipe, it will take some practice, because like we talked about in the last episode, if you are feeling like you're not able to take up space because of cultural expectations, you're just not sure how to do it, or if people are really disregarding what you have to say, so you're just used to just holding your feelings in, it is going to take practice to break those actions and break those behaviors. But of course, like I said, we don't have to do them in a way that is so shocking and so jarring that we revert back to not doing anything at all, right? Anytime that we make a change and we want to practice something new, it's incremental. So if we think about basketball, for example, when you're playing basketball and you're learning a new move, first of all, someone had to teach you that new move, or you had to have seen it on TV and want to replicate it, or seen it from someone who did it and you want to replicate it, and you have to practice it during practice. But even before that, you're mentally thinking like, oh, what did they do? Like, which foot did they step on? Where did their hands go? Which direction are we moving in? You're already analyzing and thinking about that even before you actually do the move, right? You're watching it. You made an analysis of it already. And then you go and when you're in practice, you think about that again. You recap what it was. You practice it during practice, either by yourself or with your teammates. And then you practice it in a scrimmage. Then you might practice it. You might actually use it during a game, right? Or you might need more practice or more scrimmages. And maybe there's not a good opportunity to practice that move, but it doesn't mean that you don't know how to do it. You're just waiting for the right time and place to do it. So this is the same concept where when we practice, just because we're not actively doing the move yet, which is the new skill of taking up space, also doesn't mean that we're not taking up space. We're thinking about it. We're planting the seed and starting to do something new. We're analyzing how we would do it next time. We're seeing how other people do it. We're gathering information. And that's also a very, very important step. Then we would go into practicing it with people that we know and trust, our teammates, right? People that we trust and feel comfortable with, right? And maybe again, even before that, maybe you practice it by yourself. You're in the shower, you're at home watching TV, and someone says something that was like, "Ooh, they took up space." You repeat that, right? Or you use something from what you've learned from my course, Unshaken Confidence, and you practice it. You practice it within the community, you practice it with yourself, you journal about it, or you just say it out loud as you're driving. Those are all ways that you can practice it on your own. Then you practice it with your teammates. And you could, do it with people that you feel safe with, right? Hopefully their teammates are people that support you, you feel good with, and they generally are supportive. If not, you select which teammates you want to practice with, right? Maybe you don't get along with every teammate, but the parallel version of your teammates would be a friend, someone you trust, a coach, a therapist, right? Anyone like that where you feel comfortable being able to practice saying some of these things. Then when the time and place comes, when there's actually a situation, a game that you could practice this skill, you could choose to do it or not, right? You'll be much more aware of like, in this circumstance, if this happens, this might be a good time to do that move, right? You know when to like drive in if someone is, really up close on you, or if they're like giving you a lot of space, maybe you shoot the ball. So, right, you figure out how to implement that skill in a situation when it's happening live. And that's just the same thing with taking up space and anything that we practice here on Empowered with Immigrant Parents podcast, right? And anything that I talk to you about, it's always about baby steps in implementation. We never want you to feel like you're being thrown in, and thinking about any concept that you hear from me in that way will be helpful so that you can also be very gentle with yourself as you're trying new things. Okay? We're going to go into a couple of thoughts and how to reframe them. For adults with immigrant parents, there's also this pattern of thinking, I should be grateful for what I have and not ask for more. But in reality, you can do all of it. You can be grateful and you can ask for more. You can be grateful and take up space. You could be grateful and also want someone to respond to you differently, right? You could be appreciative and still want something different. An easy example to think about could be with work, where you're like, well, this job is so good, it pays the bills and actually more than what I thought it could offer me, and it's flexible with time and the benefits are great. So you could be grateful for all of those things, and you could still want a promotion. You could still want more pay. You could still want to work from home and advocate for that. You could still want a better position or like better timing, a better schedule. Those things can simultaneously exist. And I think when we start being okay with two opposing or seemingly opposing emotions sit together, that will help us take up space. Let's say a friend, when they come visit you, they give you a coffee and you're so appreciative and so grateful because they knew you were tired, or they thought of you because they were getting one also and just wanted you to have one. So you could be grateful for that coffee and also ask for more, or tell them what you're feeling or tell them what you're thinking. Like, hey, I really appreciate you giving me this coffee. I actually just don't really like coffee. Next time maybe you can save the money and don't get it for me, or, if you do, a tea would be okay, right? You could tell them, and you can still show so much gratitude for what they're doing and their thoughtfulness around what they're offering you. Now, if you're thinking, I am asking for too much, we want to examine that thought. Is it too much? Like, if this person is bringing you coffee each time that they see you, and their gesture is so kind and you appreciate it so much, but you never end up drinking the coffee, or you drink a little bit of it and you toss the rest, that's actually a waste, right? Or they think that this is a part of who you are, and then it's something that they continue to do for you or tell people about, and it's not really what you like. That's also not true, and so it's beneficial for other people to have that information too. So if you were thinking I'm asking for too much to tell them, hey, can you get me a slushie, a tea, a boba instead, they could say no, right? They could say no to any request that you have, and they could also say yes. So it's up to them what they say and what they do. If you take up the space to be like, hey, this is not something I really like actually, but thank you so much. You could even just leave it at that. You could even say something like, I really appreciate you thinking of me, and I actually don't want you to waste your money because I actually really don't like coffee. So next time if you do get one, just feel free to get one for yourself, and I know that you're thinking of me and I appreciate it. Right? It doesn't have to be like you make a request, but also if they're already thinking about you, why not actually let them help you and let them give you the thing that you actually want, versus being misguided by your reactions or by your not telling them something, thinking that they are doing this great thing for you also, which they are, right? But it helps them actually have clarity on what it is that you want. Another thought that could cross your mind when you're taking up space is that I am asking for too much. Going back to the job promotion example, right? Maybe there's so many great benefits and so many things you like about this job already that you're like, oh, I'm asking for too much when I ask for a raise or want time off or want more benefits or whatever it may be. If that is something you're thinking of, you can always ask for anything. Right? You can ask for things. You can ask for whatever you'd like. Just because you ask something also doesn't mean that people will give it to you. What is important to remember, and this ties back to boundaries, is people have their own boundaries. People and places have their own rules that they follow. So just because you ask for something also doesn't mean that you'll get it. It also doesn't mean you won't get it, but we have to consider that people have agency and rules and values that they follow, just like how we would follow it. And we can be the ones to decide what we want to do. And in the same note, they can also decide what they want to do. So you can ask for a promotion, but they have rules and regulations within the company that can dictate whether or not you get a promotion, right? Or if you ask your friend to, buy you a coffee, since they're already getting a coffee and they're coming to see you and you're really tired and you're scared that you're asking for too much, you could say, hey, if it's too much, let me know. But since you're going to be in the area, do you mind getting me this coffee? You could ask them. They could say yes, they could say no. And if it is too much, if they've been practicing setting boundaries and knowing what they value, what they want to do and not do, knowing their bandwidth, right? Like my cup analogy in a previous episode that I can link below, they will tell you yes or no, honestly, and then not have any, and not have any hard feelings or any resentment towards it, because both of you could be practicing setting boundaries and being very aware of what it is that you're capable of, what you want to do. And that is why boundaries is so great, because it comes up in so many aspects, right? And once you start setting boundaries, and once you start taking up space, you also give people permission to take up space too. Oh, Allison, she's in the area. She's going to come by in this area. I wonder if I could ask her to carpool. Right? It gives them permission to ask, and you can say no. If Allison doesn't want to give me a car ride, then I'll do this, right? If Allison does, then great. Let me just ask. And Allison, I decide if I want to do this or not. So it's really not something about asking too much. It's really more about what do you need that you feel comfortable asking, and then other people will tell you if it's too much. So let's not decide ahead of time if it's too much or not. Okay? Another concept, another thing that actually stops adults with immigrant parents from taking up space is feeling worried about what other people think. If I ask my cousin for help, they're going to think I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing enough, or that I'm lazy, or I'm this and I'm that, right? There could be the shame of asking for help, or this fear of judgment of like what their capabilities are. Another thing on that same note is this idea of not sharing family secrets to people. So there could be this idea that asking for help is not okay because I'm sharing family secrets, or I'm talking about my family, I'm talking poorly about this person if I'm asking for help in regards to them, or they might talk poorly about me because I asked for help. And if that is something that's stopping you from taking up space, for advocating for what you need, saying what's on your mind, or, asking for help, I want you to think about being very selective of who you ask, right? Of course, there could be an array of people that you can ask for help, but being very selective about who you open up to, especially at the beginning, because again, this is new. So we're practicing it with our teammates, and teammates that we like and that we trust first. And let's not jump into like practicing it with like a random person in the street or the opposing team when we're not ready for it. Of course we could, but in alignment with what I've been talking about in making this easy and like actionable and something that you could take baby steps towards, do it with people that you know can be more supportive of first, right? A second point to that is when we're worried about what other people think, we're going to worry forever because we will never know what people think. Even if they tell us, we may not know wholeheartedly sometimes what people think. We have no control over what they think, right? Sometimes if someone asks like, oh, does this sweater look good? Someone might respond because they're jealous, or they want that sweater, and they might be like, oh, it's ugly. They could tell you that. You don't know. So then your reaction could be like, oh, it's ugly. They don't like it. Oh my gosh, this person's going to judge me. But there could be another reason underneath that. That's a little bit of a silly example, but we just never know what other people are actually thinking, what they're projecting, what they're putting onto us because of their own feelings about themselves, right? That's projection. And we don't know if they actually will think those negative things about us, right? What if we're the ones projecting? We're thinking, oh my gosh, I am so rude for asking for this. So then you think other people are going to think that you're rude when you're not. Right? You're already assuming and mind reading what other people are thinking about you, and that's not helpful either. So whether it's you projecting or mind reading, whether they're projecting and not telling you the truth, it doesn't really matter because we won't know what people actually really think. We won't really know what other people are thinking until one, they either tell us, and then we have to judge, what we want to think about what they say about us and if we want to believe it. 2, we might be projecting our own thoughts, our own fears, our own worries onto other people that may not be true or fair to do. And also 3, we have no control over what other people think. So stop expending energy thinking about what other people are thinking about you. What do you think about you, right? This is why the conversation about what our values are is so important. And when I talked about it in the repay cycle, which I will also link below if you want to listen to that, what we value and what we want to spend time on, what is important to us, is going to help us guide us in what we ask for, what we talk about, what we advocate for, right? So this all ties back to this framework that I've created in Unshaken Confidence, about the framework of knowing you, knowing why, knowing how. And what we're talking about today helps you really analyze you, right? Know more about you so that you know how to do it, how to take up space when you're ready for it and when you want to. And knowing why is this important, right? Is this a value of mine? Is this something that I really want to make space for and advocate for because I want this promotion, this relationship, this coffee, whatever it may be? How can we really bring it back to why this is important to us so that we do it? right? So taking up space, it could be scary, like we talked about. It will take practice. So if you're able to really be mindful of what you're telling yourself as you're hesitant in taking up space, some of these examples and some of these ideas could be really helpful to start implementing in your day-to-day life. And again, do it with this whole basketball practice analogy, right? Do it with people you care about first, that you know care about you, and find supportive. And just know that even if you're not actively changing your behaviors just yet, the fact that you're thinking about how can I say this to this person, let me brainstorm, or like next time I'll do this, that's also taking up space, but in a way that's like a good starting point for you, that it's not so strong or so aggressive that you're like, no, I'm never going to do it again, right? And I don't want that for you. I want you to feel comfortable as you're progressing along and taking up space. So let me know how that works for you. If you need more help with this, join Unshaken Confidence. We talk about all things taking up space, setting boundaries, communication, and it all really is so that it empowers you to show up as the best version of yourself in your life, in your relationships, and care for your family in a way that works for you, instead of doing the old default thing and, hiding away and pushing all your feelings and needs aside to take care of others. That actually will lead you to the point of burnout. And I don't want you to be burnt out. I don't want you to have negative thoughts about yourself for how you're feeling when being an adult with immigrant parents. There's so many challenges and so many areas we have to consider and analyze. I don't want you to, have this fear of taking up space or saying what you need to the point of burnout, where you actually lose the relationships that you very much care about. Because there are ways to mitigate this. There are ways to set boundaries and live more of your life while also caring for others. And I hope this was helpful for you to listen to. And again, join Unshaken Confidence if you want more support, more accountability, more tips and tools, and how you can implement some of this as well. Some of this and more. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. I appreciate you being here. Just as a reminder, all information on this is intended to be informational and educational only. Although I am a licensed therapist, I am not your therapist. If you are looking for any medical or mental health services, please reach out to providers local to your area and seek out information that is specific for you. This information is not intended to replace any medical or mental health services that you may benefit from. And I hope that you enjoyed the information that was provided on the show today, and I'll see you on the next episode.